President, you should have seen it.
Okay, sit down, please. I'll sit up. Mark was so nice with the plant. Coming back, I wanted to sit next to him. I must be honest. Thank you very much, everybody. This is really our first official meeting. And Andrew, it's nice to have you set everything up so well, and I hear your company's doing well.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And I really do. I appreciate we'll get to know each other very well. We'll have these meetings whenever you need them, actually, but I would say every quarter, perhaps. You could say monthly, but then all of a sudden, monthly becomes repetitive, as we know. It sounds good, but then you have to do it, and it's like, gets a little repetitive. But I would say probably on a quarterly basis. You are great people. You've done an amazing job, and the biggest in the world. And this is a worldwide meeting. And what we want to do is bring manufacturing back to our country. Vice President Pence, good morning, is very much involved with me on that. It's one of my most important subjects. It's what the people wanted. It's one of the reasons I'm sitting here instead of somebody else sitting here. And I think it's something I'm good at. We've already had a big impact. And I want to thank Mark and Ford because you've been great. I think Maryland is going to be terrific. We're going to find out soon, right? That's Lockheed Martin. And I think we're going to have a tremendous amount of business coming back. If you read today's papers, you'll see what's happening with 4 or 5 different companies that announced that they feel much differently. Foxconn is going to spend a tremendous amount of money on building a massive plant, and probably more than one. So that's what we want. We want people, we want to start making our products again. We don't want to bring them in, we want to make them here. And that doesn't mean we don't trade, because we do trade. But we want to make our products here. And if you look at some of the original great people that ran this country, you will see that they felt very strongly about that. Gonna make your products. And we're gonna start making our products again. And there'll be advantages to companies that do indeed make their products here. So we've seen it. It's going to be a wave. You watch, it's gonna be a wave. And I've always said, by the time you put them in these massive ships or airplanes and fly them, and I think it's gonna be cheaper. Now, what we're doing is we are going to be cutting taxes massively for both the middle class and for companies, and that's massively. We're trying to get it down to anywhere from 15 to 20%, and it's now 35%, but it's probably more 38% than it is 35, wouldn't you say? That's a big thing. A bigger thing, and that surprised me, is the fact that we're going to be cutting regulation massively. Now, we're going to have regulation, and it'll be just as strong and just as good and just as protective of the people as the regulation we have right now. The problem with the regulation that we have right now is that you can't do anything. I have people that tell me they have more people working on regulations than they have doing product, and it's out of control. It's gotten out of control. I'm a big person when it comes to the environment. I've received awards on the environment, but some of that stuff makes it impossible to get anything built. It takes years and years. You can look at some examples. I read one recently where a man's been trying to build a factory for many, many years, and his vote was going to be fairly soon, and he gave up because he wasn't going to win the vote. Spent millions and millions of dollars, actually ruined his life. And we can't have that. So when somebody wants to put up a factory, it's going to be expedited. And you have to go through the process, but it's going to be expedited. And we're going to take care of the environment. We're going to take care of safety and all of the other things we have to take care of. But you're going to get such great service. There will be no country that's going to be faster, better, more fair, and at the same time, protecting the people of the country, whether it's safety or so many other reasons where regulations are good. We think we can cut regulations by 75%, maybe more, but by 75%. Have, in a certain way, better protections. But when you want to expand your plant, or when Mark wants to come in and build a big, massive plant, or when Dell wants to come in and do something monstrous and special, you're going to have your approvals really fast.
Thank you, sir.
And the one thing that surprised me, and then I want to hear what you have to say, but the one thing that surprised me in going around and meeting with a lot of the people at this table and meeting with a lot of the small business owners, if I gave them a choice of this massive tax decrease that we're giving for business, for everybody, but for business, or the cutting down of regulation, if I took a vote, I think the regulation wins 100%. Now, in one case, it's hard dollars, and in the other case, it's regulation. You would think that the regulations would have no chance. I've never seen anything like it. Virtually everybody is happier with regulation than even cutting the taxes. So the regulations are going to be cut massively, and the taxes are going to be cut way down. So you're going to have now incentive to build. The one thing I do have to warn you about, when you have a company here, you have a plant here, it's going to be in Indiana, or it's in Ohio, or it's in Michigan, or it's in North Carolina, or Pennsylvania, anywhere in this country. When you decide to close it, and you no longer will have a real reason because your taxes are going to be lower. And by the way, if you go to another state, that's it. That's great. If you can go from Ohio to Indiana, or from Indiana to Ohio, that's fine. So you have 50 great, wonderful governors to negotiate with. So it's not like we're taking away competition. But if you go to another country and you decide that you're going to close and get rid of 2,000 people or 5,000 people, I tell you, United Technologies was an example with Carrier, and I got involved, 2 years after they announced. So in all fairness, that was tough, but United Technologies was terrific, and they brought back many of those jobs. But if that happens, we are going to be imposing a very major border tax on the product when it comes in, which I think is fair, So a company that wants to fire all of its people in the United States and build some factory someplace else, and then thinks that that product is going to just flow across the border into the United States, that's not going to happen. They're going to have a tax to pay, a border tax, a substantial border tax. Now, some people would say that's not free trade, but we don't have free trade now because we're the only one that makes it easy to come into the country. If you look at China, if you look at many other countries, I don't have to name them, but many other countries, they can't believe what we do. So we take in things free, and yet if you want to take a plant or you want to do something, you want to sell something into China and other countries, it's very, very hard. And in some cases, it's impossible. They won't even take your product. But when they do take your product, they charge a lot of tax. So I don't call that free trade. What we want is fair trade. Fair trade. And we're going to treat countries fairly, but they have to treat us fairly. And if they're going to charge tax to our countries, if, as an example, we sell a car into Japan and they do things to us that make it impossible to sell cars in Japan, and yet they sell cars into us and they come in like by the hundreds of thousands on the biggest ships I've ever seen, we have to all talk about that. It's not fair. It's not fair. Never was. I just can't believe it took so long for somebody to come along. So that's the only thing I will tell you. So essentially, I'm talking about no tax, because if you stay here, there's no tax. Somebody would say, oh, Trump is going to tax. I'm not going to tax. There is no tax, none whatsoever. And I just want to tell you, all you have to do is stay. Don't leave. Don't fire your people in the United States. We have the greatest people. And many other countries have the great people, too. I mean, we all have great people, okay? This isn't that kind of a competition. Everybody has great people. But if we're going to fire people and build a product outside, not going to happen. So thank you.